Lovely and welcome to Forever Box. And on a Friday, I thought we'd have a look at the front row depth for the Springboks, given the fact that Rassie Erasmus has officially announced two different big groups for the alignment camps. We've now got a player database to work with. And the big thing for the Box is always the front row, isn't it? You know, that Scrum has become an absolute weapon for the Box the last 5 years. And Don Human is a huge fan of picking out props and front rows who are solid at scrum time and can help win us penalties, win us games. So I thought I'd have a look at exactly sort of where we stand with regards to our front rows, because you can immediately see, for example, especially at hooker, trying to build depth, trying to look at who are going to be the options moving forward. After the last World Cup, where we kind of had a bit of a hooker crisis, now very much looking to make sure that's not going to be the case in 2027. Before we do that, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, these are the front row options that have been named in the alignment camps. Now, as you can see, not too many loose heads, but there are a couple of props in the sort of tighthead category where I put them in tighthead because that's where they generally play their rugby, especially for the box, but can also cover loose head in the forms like Thomas Toy and Trevor Inyakane. So if we look at the loose heads, we don't have to worry too much about Asia. Oxenchair should get to the next World Cup. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, who's viewed more as a loose by Rassie Erasmus than a hooker, he's perfectly fine with an Asian point of view. Gerastina comes fine. Intuk very much the youngster as well, alongside Jan-Hendrik Wessels in terms of sort of the development players. So Loosehead, four options there. The big one missing is currently Stephen Kitsoff, who whether we'll see on a rugby field, whether even see him play for the Box game, we'll have to wait and see. But so immediately you can see there may be a slight lack of options. But if you then look at the tight heads, for example, Thomas Toy can very aptly play at loose heads. So that gives you 5 loose heads. And I think, from a strategy point of view, Gerastina comes doing a demolition job on several teams recently. He was part of that incredible scrum against Ireland. And he's been really good. So Oxenchair, Gerastina, those two loose heads, I think, probably our top 2 loose heads. And proper scrummaging power. So very healthy loose head stocks. Tight heads, we've got far more. And the reason for that is because of the ages of the profile. So if you look at Trevor Nyakane, Vincent Koch, Frans Malherbe, all of them probably unlikely at this stage potentially to get to the next World Cup. Trevor Nyakane, we saw last year already kind of sort of being phased out, where he was left out a couple of box scores despite being fit, and you can kind of see starting to look at the next generation. So what is the next generation? So you can see over there a couple of names sort of stand out. Thomas Latoy is obviously the big one. He's been absolutely brilliant since going to Bath, and I think he'll get a lot more caps this year. Wilco Low came back into the mix after a 5-year hiatus with the Box, and he along with Gerastina have been part of one of the best scrums in URC, and you don't get much better than a scrummaging option than Wilco Low. So you got those two are probably your leading options. Then you've got Neertling Vashir and Asnat and Tlabakanye. Asnat and Tlabakanye are the youngest on that list. Very bright future and playing really good rugby for the Lions. I think he's very much someone who's going to sort of start to grow into that role and very much looking at a long-term option. Neertling Vashir, I think, is kind of like a Frans Malherbe. He's just so reliable. Doesn't necessarily have incredible amount of X factor. He's quite a subtle player, but very underrated and very solid, and kind of just won't let you down. And that's kind of what you need, really, isn't it? In a tight head, you need somebody who's reliable, somebody who can do a job. So I think you've got some great scrummages in there. I think even after we move away from Trevor Nyakane, Vincent Koch, and Wilco Low, in the remaining players, there's serious quality. Thomas Toy is absolutely world class. Wilco Low is a behemoth of a man. And then you still got the likes of Asnat and Tlabakanye as well as Neertling Vashir. For me, the interesting one is going to be hooker, because look at how many we're currently looking at. I think there's about 8 names on that list. So the current ones, Bongi Badambi, Malcolm Marks, and then you've got sort of players who've been around the fringes. So Johan Kabula played last year. Joseph Dweber's kind of back in the mix. You've got an Akafan Merva who's previously played. And then you've got a very young option in Ethan Bester and Marnus van der Merwe, who is a bit of a strange selection. We don't get to see him a lot because he plays for the Scarlets and then played for the Cheetahs, but very highly rated by the Box. So the main thing there is you can see a succession plan and you can see options. Johan Kabula is somebody who will play for years to come, as is an Ethan Bester, for example. I don't think we'll see Ethan Bester play for the Box. Same as Andre Hugo Venter as well, in terms of young options. I don't think we'll see Ethan Bester play for the Box this year, for example. I think Akafan Merva, for example, is a player that can come in to a World Cup squad tomorrow, for example, and probably wouldn't let you down. I think he's a ready-made player. Your Andre Hugo Venters, your Ethan Besters, for example, Marnus van der Merwe, those are far more your development type players. I think the main thing is to make sure that we've got options. when it comes to our hookers, so that we don't have that crisis that we had in the 2023 World Cup. In terms of sort of for me, the pecking order there, I think you obviously got Malcolm Marx, Bongi Manambi up front. After that, I feel you got Johan Kobolo, who kind of was sort of touted as, you know, sort of the number 3 option. Then you've probably got Andre Hugo Venter, then potentially Joseph Dweber, and you're then probably looking at your Aka van der Merwes, Manus van der Merwes, Ethan Bester. Joseph Dweber has not been discarded by the Boss completely. You know, his invite to the alignment camp shows that he still is on the radar. He's obviously been part of Box squads. He's been part of the group. You know, missed out on the World Cup, but they're all been very different types of games, don't they? I mean, if you look at an Andrew Hugo Fenter, for example, he's incredible in the loose, very much like a loose forward type of player. Lineouts recently not been great, and I think somebody needs to learn a lot. Joseph Dweber is probably the best scrummaging hooker in the country. You know, he's and very, very big physically. We all know his lineout issues, and that's become one of the big reasons why he maybe hasn't been involved in more Bok camps, but you know what you bring. And then you've got the likes of Aka van der Merwe. Very nice, I think, impact player, you know, gets around the park, very physical in the loose, pretty solid all-around hooker, really, but a fantastic impact player because he brings in energy that a lot of other hookers just can't or don't. So the main thing I think is we look at that, and as a Bok fan, you can be very chuffed for life. You can, you know, as an opposition, you kind of look at those and you think that's a lot of quality. You know, there's not a lot of opportunities there for us to really exploit, and we've got the depth. So the main thing I think is one of our biggest weapons, which remains the scrum, is very, very healthy and remains in very good hands, which is a really, really positive thing. So I think it'll continue to be a weapon for us, despite the fact that lots of new laws are starting to sort of depower the scrum, the likes of that, moving away from more scrums. You know, the scrums that we do have, I think we've got such a powerful front row that we should continue to be able to, I think, will be the best front row in the world for quite a few years to come, and hopefully can really dominate from sort of that set piece. What are your options? Which players are you excited about? What would your starting front row be for the 2027 World Cup, for example? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and we'll see you guys all very soon.